Hello, welcome back. I am going to, somebody asked me if I could give a little introduction into how I paint on watercolor paintings. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I know some of you that are watching are already watercolor artists, and so this might be a little bit of a review. Later on, we'll do some other watercolor paintings that are going to be it's going to be a little more to them. But this is going to be an exercise that I thought I wanted to keep as simple as possible. That would give you an introduction and a good feel of what it's like to paint watercolors. All right, so first of all, let me talk to you. The paper that I'm using is Arches 140, and it's cold press. So it's not inexpensive. So one of the most important things when you're doing when you're starting out is to have a good quality paper, because if you don't, then you're going to end up thinking that you're not doing well because you're not good at it, and in reality that's not it at all. It's just that the paper is, if it's not a decent quality, it's going to be fighting you, and you don't want that. Okay, so what I've done here, I found this, I've had this photograph of wild rose. It's simple, it has 4 petals, and so I did the sketch here. I will be sending you this on the email if any of you that might be interested. So then the other thing that I like to do is you want to find something that is water repellent. This is kind of a hard plastic, so that when you spray water or the water, is not going to affect anything really. Okay, so you can use washi tape or artist tape. This is just the kind of tape you would buy, like if you go to Home Depot, you're going to do some painting. Painter's tape. If you go to the art store, they'll call it artist tape. It's the same thing, but it's important. So I left one area here so that you could see what I'm doing with it. Okay, so then I taped it like this. Okay, so now this way you can move it around. It's kind of nice, and it's easy to handle that way. All right, so the other thing is the brushes. That's kind of an important thing also. You really don't need that many supplies or that many brushes when you're doing watercolors. This one here is a squirrel hair Dugato. It's a size 4, and I have a 2 and a 0. Okay, and then it's natural squirrel hair, and this is a nice oval wash, and this is also a synthetic brush, but it mimics the squirrel. And it really does a good job at mimicking it. I really like it. I can't tell a difference almost. So and this brand is Princeton Neptune, and it's a 1/2 inch, and they have a variety of sizes. You can get these at Blick, or you can also order them through their catalog on their website. Anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you. The brushes. Something else is very important. you're gonna want like a dishwashing kind of a sponge, because this is going to help you regulate the amount of paint that you're using, because it's going to take different degrees of wetness depending on what you're doing. And you're going to want tissue paper or napkins. Always have that ready. Something that's kind of nice to have if you're impatient like I am. It's not necessary, but it's helpful to have a hair dryer. And then I have a water bottle like this here. That's also a good thing to have. I also, one of my favorite things to also use is little, there is, let me see, sponges that I get at Daiso, Japanese store, and it's a melamine brush, and this is very good at lifting. All of these things, we're probably not going to use them like right now, but I did want to introduce some of the things that I use most of the time while I'm doing this. There's another thing also that it's called liquid frisket, and that is a very good thing to have, because that is going to protect the paper. Sometimes you don't want it to paint in certain areas. You can mask with a frisket, and you can also mask with tape, and there's a variety of things. You can also mask or with a candle. So if you come across a candle, this is gonna, like, wherever you use it, then it's going to repel the paint, so it will leave some white areas. And so it's kind of good to have for a variety of different effects, different textures, and it's just things that we're going to be using throughout this watercolors. Now this is also just a eraser, and here is a natural rubber pickup that I use when I want to lift my frisket. Alright, so let's get started. One of the reasons that I picked this very simple pattern is because I also want you to at the end, I want you to be able to end up with something that you like. I was talking to a couple of my students. They wanted me to demo flowers, and somebody else wanted me to do the watercolor. So that's why I'm doing this. All right. So see, what I'm doing here right now is just painting with water. Okay. I hope you can see that. Let me see if you can see, if you're seeing it. I think you can. Okay. So I'm gonna. All right, so that area right here has been dampened with some water. Okay, now if you notice the picture here, the background is very dark. So basically what we call that is a negative space. That is the space around your subject. So this is a good way for you to start learning how to use enough paint and not be afraid of it. And that is one of the things that I have noticed. And I know when I was first learning, I was scared of getting too much paint. But I think if we start off with quite dark, that's going to help you overcome that very thing that being scared of that paint. Okay, so now I am going to come in here. I want almost like a black green, so I am mixing You may not be able to see that, but I'm just mixing two colors, blue, and I really want to darken it, so I added raw umber to it. And I'm going to also be adding some yellow. Okay, so now I'm coming in here with that little corner in between those two petals. So, and one of the things I like about this exercise is that you can then, might as well start off with dark, enough pigment, and you are going to be able to move this around and add other colors, because if you notice the photograph, it's got several colors, although they are all pretty dark. But you start introducing, work with your primary colors. So right now we use the blue, and now I actually dipped my brush into some yellow, and what happened is the paint is now green, dark green. And you can continue to move your watercolor paper. Now I am going to introduce some red color, cadmium red. And I want you to start seeing how the colors start blending with each other. Now right here I'm getting a little bit lighter. What happens is there's like a capillary action going on. Wherever it's wet is where it's going to start drawing the water to that area. Right now I'm just going very light, but at the same time you're learning how to manipulate your brush. Like, see that little corner can go in between those two petals, and I'm getting, before this dries, this side, I'm coming in here with a wet paint, and I'm gonna see, I'm trying to get everything all right. So now we use the three colors, yellow, green, red. So I think I'm going to get a little more, maybe a little, just a truer green, because we get the impression that this is a flower in a garden and there is a lot of foliage around it. I'm keeping the colors. Don't try to do it like I am necessarily. Everybody's is going to be different. And that's the idea, for you to try out some of your colors. Mix your yellows and blues so you can get a green. In here I use mostly yellow and blue, a little bit of blue, so it's more of a chartreuse color, more of a yellow-green. Over here it was the concentration of the blue ratio to yellow was higher, so it's going to give me a darker green. All right, so now I'm going to have, I'm just sort of just making this wet. I have too much. Okay, so then that's why when I want to come to my sponge and take the excess of water off my brush, and then I can come in here and continue with the process of, I call this kind of framing your subject with a negative space. So this way you can try different effects of just so you can see what the paint does. So just by avoiding your negative, your white space there, you are going to have fun, and you're going to be learning what the paint does. So it doesn't matter if you mess up a little, there's no mistakes here. Okay? So take the excess off, because this is just background. All right. Now we have a white flower. Now up in here, I think I want more color up there. I think I'm going to come in there with a little bit of I mixed my cadmium red, and I'm going over that to accentuate that and add a little more vibrant colors. You'll notice also that in watercolor, you paint it, after it dries, the colors will be lighter than how you saw them when you had originally painted them. So that's a good thing also to experience as you go. Okay, so all right, so now what we're gonna do, you can come back after it dries and add more to it, or if you need to. Right, like right here, right now, I notice there's two petals. I would like to have a little more space between them. So, all right, so that's what we have right now. Now, I'm going to start painting inside of the flower, and the way I do that is I just add a little bit of color of water in these areas that I want shaded. It's going to be a very light pink. So I'm adding just a tiny bit of clean, clear water, just so that the paper is a little more receptive to my paint. All right, so right now, since I want this to be a soft pink, I'm making sure that my brush is pretty much clean. Take the excess off, and I'm going to pick a pretty pinky color. Now I mix, let's see, right in here. It's kind of in shadow, so where there's these dips in here, that's where the petal kind of is bent a little bit. So so it creates a little bit of a shadow in that area. Now, when there's a separation of petals, is where you want to add a little bit of color underneath. And this one's underneath, so it's not going to be so, I'm adding a tiny bit of blue to it, so it's going to give me a bit of a violet, so that it looks like a shadow. I'm going to blend that a little bit more. Going to my I'm softening some of those edges. And I'm going to do a little bit of spray. Just a tiny mist so that I can move those edges a little more. There's these two petals, so I want to emphasize that there is a bit of a difference between them. So okay, I think that is the petals, what we're going to do to the petals. So we have a tiny bit of yellow, tiny bit of blue, cadmium red, just a hint of color. All right, so now the other thing you notice in the very, very center, there is like the pistils. So I'm just putting a little bit of shadows in here, warm color. And towards the bottom is where I see like this area here. It's a little bit darker. So I'm adding a little more color in that area. Because I'm going to come back, and as soon as it's dry, I'm going to add the little pistils. So I think for this is going to be in the next tape. I'm going to, it's going to be a very short one, because basically that's all I'm going to be doing. But I do want this to be pretty straight. Let me see. Yeah, and then that part I'm going to do with a liner brush, which is like this here. I'm not sure, it's a number 4 liner. Okay, I think maybe I can do a little bit of it. So I'm going to steady my hand, and from the inside I'm going to go out. And they're kind of reddish, some of them. So it's still a little wet. I'm going to wait. Let me see. I think this is a dry area. See? Like that. And then at the very tip, some of them have like a little seed. So you just touch it, and it gives you those little dots. So so I'm going to continue doing that in this upwards, and that's going to give me those little pistils, and that will be how that's done. All right, now at this point you can leave it like this, or you can come back with your background, add more color, make it a lot darker, like this painting, like this photograph here. But yeah, that's the idea. Okay, so now the next thing I want you to do is you can come back here, and then you lift your tape, and this tape you can use it several times for other projects. I don't like to leave the tape like forever, for a long time, because then what happens is if you leave it too long, then you lift the fibers of your painting, and you don't want that. But see, you can start doing a collection, do some greeting cards. You can give them as gifts. And you can write your name and date it. It's almost done, but the next thing I'll just have to do is the rest of the, it's got quite a bit of them, and that will be it for that. So I will show you the finished product probably tomorrow. Anyways, that's the lesson for beginning watercolor. Right here I have another beginner exercise that we're going to do on the next tape. The next tape I'm going to finish the inside of this, then we're going to do some more things here, some more techniques. All right, please let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.